Deakin&Francis, based in Birmingham's famous jewellery quarter, reckoned to be the oldest family jewellery maker in the world, dating back to 1786. Henry Deakin is the seventh generation of the same family to run the operation. He'll be talking today at the School of Jewellery on Victoria Street, where students will be showing off their creations to buyers from top stores like Selfridges and John Lewis. Morning to you, Henry. How are you?
Morning, Adrian. Very well.
Nice to speak to you. And I just think it's incredible. I think a lot of people would think, it'd be nice to set up something that is a family business that I can hand on to my kids, because then they've got an income and they've got a career. 7 generations, though, that's something.
7 generations. There's no guarantee with a family business that you're going to have an income. That's for sure. Let's not be funny.
Let me get the violins out, Henry. Go on.
What I can say is it's really nice to come to Birmingham at this time in the morning. There is no traffic. So as enjoyable as it was listening to WM this morning and hearing there's no traffic, I've never made it in such good timing. But family businesses they're amazing. They are all over the country, from funeral directors to supermarket chains to whatever it is. We're very lucky to have Deakin&Francis, which, as you say, 1786 we started. We've never moved premises. The steps as you walk up to my office are sort of carved out from fat deacons walking to work in the morning, and we're very proud of it. We're very proud to be made in Birmingham and still making in Birmingham.
Cufflinks are your thing. Oh, that's what you're famous for, isn't it?
We specialise in cufflinks. We do absolutely anything in the jewellery world. We do leather goods, but cufflinks are our mainstay, and we've made cufflinks for rock stars to royalty all over the world. We sell all over the world, and cufflinks do seem to have a bit of a resurgence.
Do you know who the original Deakin was then?
We believe it was Charles Washington Shirley Deakin. We've got a picture of him on in the factory, and he's got quite the finest sideburns I've ever seen.
Very fashionable now as well, I suppose.
They are now,
yeah. Yeah. So he started it back in 1786. Do you know anything then about the kind of the history going forward?
Well, it is a bit mixed, but we know in 1786 we bought the building. Well, 1787 we bought the building off Matthew Bolton. So James Watts and Matthew Bolton owned the property.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, where we have our board meetings now is James Watts's sitting room.
Oh, lovely.
So there's a real history, and
yeah.
Actually the Lunar Society used to meet in the boardroom there from Birmingham. After James Washington Shirley Deakin, we were joined by a cousin, a nephew, and then a brother. And then the Francis family joined us, and I'm not sure what year the Francis family joined us, but it was at the end of the First World War. Sadly, the last member of the Francis family was killed. But as a sort of respect to them, we've kept the Francis name. I think
that's a really lovely touch, actually. Because you could just call it Deakin again, but in honour of the sacrifice of the Francis family, they keep their name up there in lights. I'm just wondering, was there any point for you at which you suddenly realised, and in the way that it must be really weird if you're a member of the royal family, at some point it must hit you, I've got to do this job for the rest of my life, whether I like it or not. Were you ever hit with that realisation, inheriting the family business in jewellery?
Do you know, I've worked in the business for about 15 years, but actually it's been our life since we were sort of 30. I'm sure health and safety would have a field day if they knew that as children we sort of were going to the factory, not to work, but to sort of play while Dad was working. My brother James and I took over 10 years ago, probably, from my father, who had Parkinson's, which is the main reason he retired. And he said something to us that I think anyone who's joining a family business should be sold. He said, and obviously with 7 generations, there's a huge sort of weight on your shoulders, but he said, if it doesn't work for you, don't work for it. And actually that's the kindest thing he could have said, because he could have said, make sure you keep this going, and actually it takes the pressure off and you can get on and run a business.
Really is a generous thing to say, because it would be very easy, as you say, for him to encourage you to keep it going forever and ever and ever, but if it doesn't work, no point flogging it.
No, exactly.
It is working. You're there, 7th generation. Henry, lovely to speak to you. And we're going to talk more about the kind of the exchange, the exhibition that's going on later today, a little bit later in the programme. Thank you so much for coming.
Having me.
If you do work for a family business, even going back just a couple of generations, dad and lad, mom and daughter, whichever, I'd love to hear about it this morning. Share it with us this morning. I think it's quite something that the world's oldest family jewellery maker